The Young Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. Chapter 1. Michael Holder jumped from the hard wooden bench each time the steel door slammed shut. He wrung his shaking hands, hoping that the next time the door opened his parents would appear, and this nightmare would finally end. Through the gray metal bars he watched the annoying tick of the red hand of the clock. Second by a excruciating second. Surely his parents were on their way by now. He had heard the phone call. The officer's terse, no-nonsense explanation of the whole mess. "Mrs. Holder, we have your son in custody." He couldn't imagine what his mother thought when she heard those words. The rest of the officer's words just swirled around in Michael's head. "An accident. He's fine. 3 in the hospital. Alcohol is found. Under investigation. Charged with reckless endangerment. Hospital. Alcohol. Investigation." Michael so badly wanted to hear his mom's voice on the other end of the line. Had she been asleep? Of course she had. It was way past midnight. Was she angry, humiliated, crying? Why wouldn't she be? She had just received the most dreaded call in the history of motherhood. Your son is in jail. What call could be worse? At least the "your son has been killed" call suggests that your son was innocent, right? At least with that call, a mom could get in the car, knowing that her attempt at parenting had been successful, that she hadn't wasted 17 years raising a son who would just get himself thrown in jail. Michael shook his head. He was a failure. He had failed his mom and dad. He had failed his friends. He had failed himself. As the clock ticked on, Michael remembered a game he used to play to ease his mind while he was waiting for his parents to pick him up from school or basketball practice. He would close his eyes and imagine what his mom and dad were doing at the very moment. He would think, it's 3:30. Mom's getting off work. She's walking out of the office, down the sidewalk, across the parking lot, and to her car. Now she's unlocking the door, getting in, starting the car. He would imagine every little detail of his parents' trips, until one of them would pull up beside him and honk the horn, startling him out of his thoughts. The game had always helped to comfort him. Maybe it would at least distract him now. Out of desperation, he began to imagine what was happening back at his house. Mom's waking up Dad. His dad had been so exhausted lately, even more than usual. Just last week, Michael had followed his dad up the stairs and was alarmed by the way his father had to stop at the top of the steps to catch his breath. A few years ago, a half-hour game of one-on-one didn't even faze him, but something had suddenly taken its toll on that man. Now, Mom's breaking the news. They're getting dressed, walking to the car. Michael wondered what they had said to each other, or worse, if they had gotten ready in silence. His dad had always been a man of few words. He never said a whole lot. He never needed to. One look from his dad and Michael knew he needed to straighten up his act. Boy, was he going to get that look tonight. Slam. This time Michael barely raised his head to look, but he had sat up with a jolt when he saw the all-too-familiar figures coming through the door. His mom's plaid flannel pants and slip-on clogs told Michael that she had barely taken the time to get dressed before running out the door. He could see that she had attempted to apply some makeup, but had done nothing to hide her puffy, tear-streaked face. He felt another knot in his stomach. Michael couldn't stand to see his mom cry. He shifted his gaze to his dad, who met his eyes with a blank stare. It was nothing like the disciplinary look Michael had expected. It was a look of confusion. A "what in the world are you doing here" expression on his face, as he stared at his only son. Michael quickly averted his eyes down to his dad's shirt. He had missed a button and the shirt was untucked. Nothing like the crisp, formal way he usually dressed. Michael knew his parents would be angry with him, but now he was afraid it was much more serious than that. As his parents spoke with the officer, Michael wondered what they would say to him. He could handle stern looks from his father, and try to do better speeches from his mother. But his dad seemed stunned, and his mother already looked as if she'd been crying for days. How would he face them? What would he say to them? How would he explain what had happened? It had been a little less than 2 hours since the crash. 2 hours that had felt like an eternity. But now, with his parents standing there looking at him, wanting to take him home, it seemed like he had just gotten there. Well, they probably didn't really want to take him home, and Michael wasn't really sure if he wanted to go. But as soon as the tall steel bars swung open, he stood and moved toward his parents. They both turned without a word and walked toward the door. When they got to the car, Michael opened the door for his mom. He didn't receive the clumsy curtsy and "thank you, kind sir" she typically offered in her worst British accent. Michael would usually roll his eyes at her, but now he wanted to hear her goofy impression more than ever. The ride home was silent. After a few minutes, they turned on a Northfield Lane, where Michael noted each passing tree. He knew them all by heart. They were only six driveways from home. 5, 4, 3, 2. Forcing one foot in front of the other, Michael made his way into the house. Once they were inside, he couldn't stand the silence any longer. His dad quickly held up a firm hand and without a word went upstairs. Now Michael was the one who was lost. He was an old pro at handling his parents when he was in trouble. He could predict their every move, forecast every punishment, but this was bad. Really bad. After gulping down a glass of cold water, Michael went to his room. He put the glass on his nightstand and collapsed into bed, burying himself under the covers. What a night, he thought as he stared at the ceiling. Michael blinked slowly and opened his eyes to the morning sun. He couldn't remember what time he had finally fallen asleep. At first he smiled, and then the previous night hit him. A feeling of dread filled his stomach up to his throat. "Michael, breakfast." The deep voice startled him. His dad was standing at the door. Avoiding his dad's gaze, Michael jumped out of bed, threw on some track pants and a t-shirt, and slowly made his way down the stairs. His mom was sitting at the table with a cup of coffee in her hand, staring out the window. "Sit down, son." His dad took a seat across from his mom, and Michael took his usual spot between them, facing the empty fourth chair. "At least he's talking to me now," Michael thought as he poured himself some juice. "Michael, I'm sick," his dad began. "Okay, I take that back. I wish he wasn't talking to me now." Michael looked up at his dad. "What do you mean, sick?" he asked. "The doctor found a spot on my left lung. It's malignant cancer. I'm having surgery on Monday, and I'll be out of work for a while." Michael was confused. Why is he telling me this now? Didn't he pick me up from jail last night? He's not even going to yell at me? "Dad, let me finish. Things are going to be difficult for a while. Your mom is going to need your help. You're going to have to carry part of my load around the house, and now we obviously have other problems to deal with, too." Michael looked at the floor. Here it comes, he thought. "Your car is wrecked, possibly even totaled, and we only have liability insurance, which means that you won't have your car to drive for a little while, unless you can pay to fix it." Michael slowly nodded his bowed head. "You'll need an attorney for court, and I'll only be getting disability pay until I return to work. It's enough to cover the bills, but not the added expense of an attorney. You'll have to pick up a part-time job for that." Michael looked up. "But I have track practice. I can't." "You can and you will. You made a choice last night, and today you will begin to face the consequences. You're almost an adult, Michael, and every man must face the results of his decisions." Mr. Holder turned his head and looked out the window. They all sat in silence. If this is some sort of discipline trick, it's working, Michael thought. Then the reality of what his father had said finally hit him. "Dad," Michael asked in a soft voice, "are you going to die?" His mother spoke first. "Michael, we don't really know what is going to happen. The doctors are optimistic, but they won't know anything for sure until after the surgery. If that is the only spot, then the prognosis should be very good. If the cancer has spread, then it will be more serious. There'll be chemotherapy, radiation maybe. We'll just have to wait and see." Michael couldn't believe he was having this conversation. How had life gotten so completely out of control in less than 24 hours? None of it seemed real. He wanted to grab his father, hug him, beg for his forgiveness, and promise to make everything right. But he couldn't. He had screwed up too badly this time. There was no way he could fix this mess. He had disappointed his parents at the worst possible time, and they would never forgive him. And why should they? He choked down his toast and juice, put his dishes in the dishwasher, and headed back to his room. A half hour later, Michael's dad was at his bedroom door again. "I was hoping to get the yard mowed and the gutters cleaned out," his dad said. "Sure," Michael answered, and slipped on his tennis shoes. The day passed slowly. Michael had plenty of time to think about what had happened as he made the clockwise paths around the yard. "I guess even being designated driver can get you into trouble when you're my age. Wait, DD is an honorable position, right? Well, okay, maybe not for a 17-year-old whose friends shouldn't be drinking in the first place. But still, I wasn't doing anything wrong. Okay, I did have that bad feeling before I got into the car. But what was I supposed to do? I had to take them home. I had to. Of course, I didn't know that they had stuffed beer in their shirts, too. If Stupid Mark hadn't thrown Stupid Dave's stupid out of the window, then Stupid Chase wouldn't have jerked the wheel for me to turn around. And then I wouldn't have hit that stupid phone call at 40 miles an hour, or however fast we were going. And to top off all of the stupidity, they weren't wearing seat belts. I should have known better. I should have. But what can I do about it now? And what's going to happen to Dad? What if the cancer is spread? What if he can't go back to work? What's going to happen to us? I need him. Mom needs him. Looks good, Michael's mom yelled from the front porch as he shut down the mower. His mom was holding 2 glasses of ice water, and she motioned with her head for Michael to come over. Here, take one to your dad, she said, handing him 2 glasses of water, one with 2 cubes of ice, just like his dad liked it.